I'm going to make a really big promise here. I'm going to show you how to create a walk-away residual income in 12 months or less, working less than an hour a day for less than $10 a month. Now, the less than $10 a month part, I'm going to show you in the second half of this presentation, so you're going to have to hang on for that. But everything else I'm going to show you in this first half of this presentation, where you can take this wherever you want to take it and do with it whatever you want to do. And again, this is a really big, bold claim, but I'm going to show you exactly how we're doing it. I'm going to show you that it's already happening. I'm going to give you the exact steps to do exactly what I just said that you could do. And if you hang out for the second half of this presentation, which you're not obligated to do, I'm just going to give you everything that's so you can you step into something that is already done for you. Because as you'll see as you go through this presentation, you know, over the course of the last 20 years, I've been in this industry for 20 years, been trying to and successfully building my own thing for 20 years now. And one of the things that I really find is that it's much, much easier when somebody gives you all of the pieces. And there are just a couple of things that you've got to do on a daily basis. Have a little daily mode of operation that you can plug into that's simple, that anybody can do. If you can do that on top of what I'm going to show you here, then it's much, much easier to have a successful business. And so I want you to, if you're not already a part of our community, I want you to sit back. I want you to relax. I want you to unfold the arms if they're folded. If somebody invited you to something, you don't even know what you're looking at. Just sit back, relax, put your wallet away, put your skepticism away, because there's nothing to buy at all in this presentation. And I'm actually going to show you how you can join our community or at least get a peek into the inside absolutely free. And so again, put the wallet away, sit back in your chair, relax, just have a good time, and know that over the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you 7 principles, 7 little steps to a formula that I've been using to create money in a way that gives me true wealth. And wealth, again, is time, money, and freedom all at the same time. And one of the first things that you need before I even get into any of the steps is you are going to need to know what's your mission. What is your mission? Why are you doing it? Who do you want to serve? If you did have all of the time and freedom and resources that you wanted to, what would you do with it? Why do you want it? Is there a community that you'd want to serve? It could be that you're just trying to get out of a job. It could be that you're trying to get out of bed. It could be that you are trying to spend more time with your children. When I first decided what my must was, I had been let go 3 weeks before Christmas. I had a little baby girl at home already. My son was on the way. My wife was pregnant already with my son. And so what I learned after I got let go, I'd been home for a little bit, a few weeks, a couple of months. And what I really realized is that all of the extra time I was getting to spend with my daughter and with my wife and just being together, I never, ever wanted to leave that again. And so it became my mission. It became my why. It became my must to start building money, to create income in a way that allowed me the freedom to be home with my family. And that was almost 20 years ago. And I'm happy to say that I never had to go back to the job, because part of that is because I had a really solid why. I had a mission, I had a why, I had a must. I must get free in order to spend this time with my family and do the things that I wanted to with my life. Now, over time, my mission has grown. My why has gotten bigger. It's gotten outside of me and my family. But it doesn't matter what your why, what your mission is right now. It just matters that you have one, right? You've got to have something that you are seeking, something that's driving you. If it could be something positive, like for me, it was just spending more time with my family. Sometimes you're running away from something, right? Like maybe it's a job you want to get away from, but try to think about what you're running towards, and that will help fuel you in a much more positive way than running away from this negative thing, but running towards that positive thing, and it will really help you as you go along here. And so what is our mission here? You came here, somebody invited you here, and you got invited to the job-free revolution. And what is this job-free thing? Are you just a bunch of lazy people who don't want to work? And no, that's absolutely not who we are. We believe, though, that you can make more while working less, and you should, because it frees you up to do all of the things that you want to do. It frees you up to be with the people that you love the most. It frees you up to be doing the things that you love the most. And it frees you up as your mission grows and as your vision grows and as your why grows. It frees you up to serve the people, communities, and causes that God puts into your heart at any moment. Because wouldn't it be cool that in any moment, if you wanted to go serve, somebody, if something happened in the world, or you wanted to go help somebody, you wanted to go serve a group of people, or you just got it into your heart that you wanted to help a specific group of people, wouldn't it be cool at any moment in time to say, you know what, I'm just going to pick up and I'm going to go do that. I've got the time, I've got the freedom, I've got the resources. I'm going to go do that no matter what it is. And I could be just spending more time with your family. And again, it could be as your mission grows, as your why grows, as your must grows. About my dog, they're barking. That's part of, listen, I'm working from home. This is proof that we're live. This isn't something that I recorded. This is real life. This is real business. But this is why I'm home, because I want to be home with my family. I want to be home with my barking dog. And again, almost 20 years ago, I decided that was my must. Barking dogs and all, I wanted to be home and be with my family. And that's our mission with the Job Free Revolution. We're not just a bunch of lazy people who don't want to work. We just believe that work should absolutely be meaningful. It should be purposeful. And it should produce income in a way that gives us and gives you more time, exponentially more time to spend with those that we love the most, doing the things that we love the most, and serving the people, communities, and causes that speak to our hearts. And I'm going to take a second here just to take a peek into the chat to make sure everything is going well. It looks like it is. I see somebody got startled by the dog. Sorry, Rob, that happens. I'll try to keep him a little bit more calm, but yeah, he is my little buddy, and so he just gets to do what he wants. And that's our mission. But now I want to get into those things that this first half of the presentation is going to be for those of you who just want a formula, who want some principles, who want a plan, who want to know what to look for to have a freedom business. Because again, it's one thing to have a business. It's another thing to have a business that gives you the freedom, the time, and the resources all together so that you can go out and do whatever it is that you want to do in the world. And the number one thing, I already touched on this a little bit, is that in today's day and age, you can plug into so many different business models, so many different businesses, so many different opportunities where everything pretty much is already done for you, or most of the hard, techie, time-consuming, expensive work is done for you, and you should do that as much as possible. This is what took me from broke and struggling and confused to actually succeeding in my business, because prior to me getting laid off that 3 weeks before Christmas, I had already been trying to do this for at least a couple of years, and I'd gotten my family into a situation. We were anywhere between $30,000 and $50,000 in debt at any moment. It was going back and forth, but we stayed between $30,000 and $50,000 in debt for a while, and I couldn't get this business thing figured out. I was trying offline stuff, I was trying online stuff, and I ran into a guy named Darren Gaudry. And Darren Gaudry, I really loved what he was doing from the standpoint of he was building freedom businesses. He was super, super successful, but he wasn't doing all of the stuff. He wasn't building all the products. He wasn't doing all of the websites. He wasn't doing all of the customer service. He wasn't handling all the merchant accounts. He was just doing a couple things a day and plugging into systems that had everything pretty much ready to go for him. And then he could just focus on 1 or 2 or 3 things a day that took him maybe a couple hours at most. And then he had the day to do it with what he wanted. And so I found that shortly. 2004, I got let go. 2005, I found Darren. And by the end of 2005, after being about $50,000 in debt, I had made my first $101,000 online because I had plugged into done-for-you systems that were all done for me. All I had to do is a couple of things every single day and let the system handle everything else. And so the number one thing that I really recommend is if you are getting started, if you haven't had success, I don't recommend, and you can follow any path that you want to. There's a million different ways to create wealth. If you want to keep it simple though, I don't always recommend doing your own products, developing all of your own coaching and trying to build all of your own websites and doing all of this stuff. Because while you're doing that, you can't really be building and doing all of that at the same time. And so number one, that takes a really long time to get started. It could take you months or even a year or two to get all of that laid out. And by the time you get it laid out in today's day and age, you're probably going to be outdated anyway. And so it just makes more sense to plug into something that's already ready for you and just do a couple of things. And we can talk about what those couple of things are later on in this presentation. The next thing is right now income. There are all sorts of different ways to get paid, but if you are plugging into a business or an opportunity or an affiliate program or partnering with something and creating income that way, if you're not getting paid for weeks or months at a time, it's really hard to build a business at scale because you're always waiting for that next influx of income to really get going. You want to be in a situation where you can be getting paid in 7 days or less, if at all possible. That is the best case scenario. So number one, done for you systems. Number two, plug into something that can get you a check right away or within 7 days or less, so that you can start investing that back into your business and actually be growing your business pretty much from the time that you start that business. Number three is, and I had forgotten about this type of income over the last few years. When I first got started in the industry, it was part of everything that I did. And as I started, I was actually stepping back from the industry. And the further I was stepping away, the more I stepped away from this exponential income. And I don't even know why I was doing it. It's just one of those things that sometimes when you've had some success, you forget about what gets you there. And so over the last 4 months, there's a couple of types of income that I'm going to talk about in these 7 things, or these 7 principles, or these 7 principles of a freedom-based business. One of those things is exponential income. And this is how you get paid whether you get out of bed or not, because exponential income is the type of income that grows in your absence. It doesn't matter if you're trading time for dollars. You can be not just creating income, but growing your income even while you're not there. And this is what took me, this was about, I was probably 4, 5, maybe even 6 years into full-time online business. But I'd been doing $10,000 a month for several years, and I couldn't really get past it. And I plugged into a business model that had what I call exponential income. It's getting paid on the efforts of yourself, but also getting paid on the efforts of others and the efforts of others and others down multiple levels of people and through hundreds, maybe even thousands of people. Exponential income that can continue to grow whether you're working or not, because you can have 10, you can have 20, you can have 30, you could have 100, you could have 500, you could have thousands of people always working their business. And when it contributes to your business too, that is what exponential income is. It allows you to walk away. And this took me actually from $0 to $60,000 in 60 days once, when I had lost everything. And I had some merchant problems. A merchant had taken pretty much all of the income that I had made over the previous year. Over $100,000 of my income, was holding it for 6 months. And this business model, plugging into exponential income, where I got paid on my efforts and the efforts of those that I brought in and the efforts of those that they brought in, and down levels and levels and levels of people, that was able to exponentially expand my income and allow me to create income when I was working or not working. So that's exponential income. And the other thing about exponential income is that it exposes how the wealthy actually create money and how the poor really don't ever really create any money. Because I don't say poor in a negative really connotation, right? It's poor meaning that you aren't really creating wealth in a way that allows you to systematically grow and scale that income. It means you're just getting paid on your own time. You're clocking in and you're getting paid for as long as you're clocked in. As soon as you clock out, you're done getting paid. And so you're just paycheck to paycheck. Only the hours that you trade with your time are you getting paid. What wealthy people have figured out is how to create time and money simultaneously by leveraging teams, by leveraging employees, by leveraging assets. But assets are pretty tough they're expensive to accumulate. Employees means you've got to be running entire companies, which is hard. But teams is really where I'm going to want to focus over the rest of this presentation. You can build teams at any experience level. You can build teams for free. And it's super simple to build teams of people in a business that has everything already done for you, as we talked about, so that you can leverage that income, like I said, to be creating income, whether you're working or not. So I'm right now, for example, getting paid 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether I choose to work or not. And I have over 2,100 people all over the world in every time zone creating income for me. And I'm going to show you at a later point in this presentation. If you hang out, you'll have to hang out to the second half, which again, you have no obligation to do, but I'm almost about to get paid on the efforts of at least 400,000 people. I'm going to talk about that later, but imagine getting paid on the efforts of 400,000 people. Right now, I'm already getting paid on the efforts of a couple thousand people, whether I get out of bed or not, because of this exponential income, meaning I'm getting paid on my efforts. I'm getting paid on the efforts of the team that I'm building. I'm getting paid on the efforts of the team that they're building. But I'm soon going to be getting paid on the efforts of many more. Now, it's an entirely different type of income that I'll talk about here in a minute. But of 400,000 people, I want you to imagine that for a second. The next thing you need is retention. And this is actually pretty tough. In any business where there's a residual income model or an exponential income model, retention is what really stops or stifles those businesses. It really makes it hard for people to grow because people are always cycling in and out. But there are a few things that if you have, retention becomes much, much easier. And I'm going to show you in the second half of this presentation, if you hang out, how we've got it a 96% retention rate, which is pretty crazy. But here's a couple things that you need. The first thing that you need are products that people actually want. And again, we've got nearly 400,000 paid members inside of 6 months. And what I'm doing right now, for example, I talked about those 400,000 people and I'm getting paid on 2,000 people right now. But we've got products that people want, right? And that's why 400,000 people have come in over the last 6 months. And also why up to 7,000 people come in every single day, because we've got something that people want. And a good way to know if you've got something that people want is that they vote. And how do people vote in a way that's meaningful when you're growing a business? With their credit cards. If people aren't paying, you don't have something that they want. If you've got a bunch of free information out there and people are gobbling up the free information, but they never pay for anything, it's not something that really moves the needle for them. Maybe they want to know it or they want to learn about it or something like that, but they don't want to have it in a way where it's actually worthwhile for them to pull out their wallet, pull out their credit card and actually pay for it. So that's the number one way to know if you've got a product that people want, they're actually paying for it. Are they already buying it? That's a good way to know if you've got something that can create retention for you. Are you providing a service, a tool, a product that people actually are already buying in mass in the marketplace? And then can you make it easier? Can you make it faster? Can you make it less expensive? And can you do it at a higher quality than somebody else is doing? And again, when I say, can you make it, I don't necessarily mean can you physically make it, right? Can you plug into a business, an opportunity, a product that you can offer that makes it easier, faster, less expensive, or higher quality for somebody that's already buying that product? That will help you with retention. And again, if you hang on for a few minutes, I'm going to show you how an entire community of us are, as a community of hundreds of thousands of people, have a 96% retention rate because we have something that lots of people want, and we're making it way, way better because it thinks that they're already buying. Number 5, you need leverage. Obviously, if you want freedom, you've got to take advantage of leverage. And this it summarizes all the stuff we've really been talking about. If you want to create more while working less, and again, it's not because we're lazy, it's because we want to actually do more with the time and freedom and resources that we're creating. We want to be with the people we love the most. We want to do the things we love the most, and we want to serve the people, communities, and causes that God puts into our heart at any moment, right? And you can't do that if you're always trading time for dollars. So to be able to create more while working less, there have to be systems in place already. There has to be training in place already. And most importantly, there has to be community. And here's why community. Systems will help people, training will help people, but what people really are hungry for is a community that they can plug into. When they need help with the training, Is there somebody that they can go to that's not you? Sometimes it can be you, but is there a community that exists that they can go to when, for example, if you're on vacation? Is there a system they can plug into that make things easier for them? But when they need help with the system, is there a community in place to help them with that system when you're absent in your business? And again, as you build a freedom business, you're going to be absent from it eventually more than you're in it. When you first start a business, you've got to be in it more than you're out of it. But as you step away from your business, as you grow, as you're more successful, and as you want to do more things with your time, money, and freedom, you're going to want to step away. You need systems, you need training, and you need community, especially to be able to do that. As you're looking for ways to create true wealth for yourself, which again is time, money, freedom at the same time, as you're looking to do that, make sure that you've got leverage in systems, leverage in training, and leverage in community. And this one is my absolute favorite thing. This is something that I really stumbled on over the last 4 months here, and it's completely changing my life. This is the thing where I said I'm getting close to getting paid on a community right now of 400,000 people. This is the ultimate income source. I want you to think about, what if you could get paid a share of every single penny that a company earned? For example, I was listening to a call yesterday, I think it was, about Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A is a massively successful fast food chain right now. They're each independent business nets about $600,000 a year in income. So they're doing really well. Back to the Chick-fil-A example, what if you could get paid on every chicken sandwich, every fry, every drink, everything sold by every Chick-fil-A in existence? What if you could get a tiny piece of every single thing sold? That is shareholder income. And as you're looking for a business, do they have a way for you to override a percentage, even if it's tiny, even if it's a tiny percentage of the gross profits of the entire company? And this is really hard to find, and I didn't find it until 4 months ago, but it's absolutely changing everything I think about how I want to run a business for the rest of my life. Because as I get closer to sharing in what I call shareholder income, I'm going to share a piece of a company, and it's not a huge piece, but the income that it translates into, I'll show you some real world examples here in a second, is massive. Just a tiny piece of 400,000 people and growing by 3,000 to 7,000 people a day. So that number is going to be 1 million people by the end of this year, for example. So if I get a share of that income over the next month or two here, and in the next 5-6 months it grows to 1 million people, now I'm getting a share of 1 million people. If over the next 18 months it grows to 3 million people, now I'm getting a share of all of the income generated by 3 million people. Every single product sold, every single membership sold, everything sold, I get a piece of that. So that's the difference between the way that I can explain it that makes sense is, it's one thing to own your own franchise, right? But it's another thing to get a piece of every single franchise that exists in that specific franchise. It will change your life. And I'm going to show you one place that I found to be able to do that. It's really hard to find, and if you could find it, grab onto it, because I've only found it once that I can remember, or once that I have recognized anyway over the last 20 years, and it was in the last 4 months. And I'm going to show you actually in the second half of this presentation, how you can find it for yourself as well. The last thing you need is something that's high converting and fast moving. To be fast moving, you need a couple of things. And for a few years, I stepped away from urgency and I stepped away from scarcity. But what I'm finding over the last 4 to 5 months is that urgency and scarcity done in a way that makes sense, done in a way that isn't manipulative, right? You can't have false scarcity. You can't have a false urgency where it's not real, right? Where you say, for example, somebody says, oh, these products come off the market in 48 hours. And then after 48 hours, you can still get them at the same price. That's a false urgency, right? That's not an ethical way to grow your business. But if there's a real urgency and a real scarcity, here's why you need that in your business. I want you to think about yourself, for example, and I think about myself. If somebody gives me until next Wednesday to do something, I'm going to finish it at the earliest Tuesday night. And I want you to think about you over the course of your life, going back to like school and stuff. It's why we have deadlines, because people by nature procrastinate. There's this tiny percentage. And if you're sitting there thinking, I always get things done a week ahead of time, you're like one in a gazillion people. People by nature are procrastinators. And if you give people time to do something, they will take that time. And so if there's no urgency and there's no scarcity built into your business, what's going to happen, and I'm going to talk about this more in the second half of the presentation, is that people are going to take their time. And the typical model, and I've been studying statistics and how business models work for the entirety of my 20 years of doing this. I've really geeked out on the numbers and systems and funnels and that sort of thing, and studying the percentages. And here's how it breaks down. In a typical funnel or sales process that doesn't have urgency, that doesn't have scarcity, here's what happens. Less than 1% of people buy right away. It takes about 90 days for 15% of your buyers to buy. The other 85% of your buyers, they don't buy until after 90 days and all the way up until about 18 months. So what that means is, in the typical business model, without urgency, without scarcity built in an ethical, in a meaningful way that's real, if you don't have it built in, most of your buyers aren't even going to look at your stuff for 90 days, and most of them aren't going to buy until 90 to 180 days. Do you have 180 days to wait for people to buy your products, services, tools, whatever it is that you're selling? So make sure that there's urgency. Make sure there's scarcity. I'm going to show you something over the second half of this presentation where, instead of people buying at day 90 or 180 or somewhere in between, our buying cycle is less than 7 days. 7 days. That's how you can build a business at scale, because we've got something that's fast moving. And you also need high converting. High converting just means that it takes you less time and money to produce a sale, right? High converting means that instead of 1 out of every 10, you're getting 3 out of every 10 or 7 out of every 10 to buy, right? I'm going to show you something over the course of this presentation where we are getting company-wide. I'll show you a company that has hundreds of thousands of people in it that has a 30% buy rate within 7 days, which is absolutely crazy. But I'll also show you some people in there who are getting a 70% buy rate or a 90% buy rate in those 7 days, which is just absolutely crazy. But think about how much easier it is to build a business when 7 to 8 people are buying right away instead of 1. That's how you build a business fast. And that's when I made that big, bold promise in the beginning that to build walk away residual income in 12 months or less, you need some sort of speed, right? That's why you need high converting. That's why you need fast moving. That's why you need urgency and scarcity in your business. And there's one last thing that I wanted to make sure that I put in here that is a rocket fuel on your business. It doesn't always happen because it's hard to catch. You've got to catch opportunities. You've got to catch products. You've got to catch businesses at the right time. But when you do, you step into 2 things. You step into momentum and you step into timing. And I don't care what anybody tries to tell you, timing absolutely matters. It doesn't matter. I've been listening to a company owner who has paid out billions of dollars in revenue over the last 10 years or so. And even he, the owner of companies, he says that year 5 is way different than year 1, right? If you catch the company at year 1, it's way easier to build a business than if you catch that company at year 5. It doesn't matter if the company is still successful at year 5. It's way easier to actually grow the business if you stepped into that business in year 1, because timing matters and momentum makes the same work easier. When you have momentum, it means that a business is growing at this upward scale, right? You're not flatlined. It's not like in this little beginning phase where nobody really knows about it. You've hit it at a point where it's growing week after week and day after day. There's significant growth. If you can catch a company in momentum, if you can catch a company at the right time, or a business or a product or a service or whatever it is that you want to offer, If you can add momentum and timing to those 7 things that I just showed you, then you can take your business. You could take your business off in 90 days, not 12 months. That's how you do it. So at this point, the 7 things, right? What you need to look for in a business or in a service or in an opportunity, those 7 things to have a meaningful why or reason or must or mission that you want to step into for you to be able to spend the time to doing that. The 7 things, how important momentum and timing is. If you want to go right now, you can. This is being recorded. I will send you the first half of this. You can have it and study that as much as you want and look for businesses, look for services, look for tools, look for products, look for opportunities that have all of those things. And if they do, you'll be able to create wealth for yourself much, much faster. And again, wealth is time, money, freedom created simultaneously. And so if you'd like to go, thank you for hanging out with us this long. But if you'd like to stay, I've got a question for you. Would it be okay if I showed you the following things? Would it be okay if I showed you a done for you solution that had all of the 7 freedom elements and had momentum and timing so that you could see massive growth, not just over 12 months, but even in 90 days, if you really stepped into that momentum and you put in some work, right? Would it be okay if I showed you something that was creating 5,000 brand new paychecks every single week? Talk about growth and timing and momentum. Would it be okay if that same thing that I was going to show you was right now producing at least 2 new 6-figure earners every single week? I don't know of a lot of opportunities, tools, businesses, services, whatever, producing 2 brand new 6-figure earners every single week. I'm going to show you one if it's okay with you. And I want to show you one that recently helped a homeless man, a man who was homeless in October through December. I just watched him make nearly $100,000 in a single month in less than 6 months with this thing that I'm about to show you. And what if that thing had a total cost of only 33 cents per day? What I really want to do is that it's not an easy button, but I want to give you the easier button. And if that's okay, I'd like you to type yes in the chat. I'm going to take a second here to go and look at the chat. And if it's okay with you for me to continue on and show you all that stuff,